Hey, I'm taking a break tonight from working on the Eraser Mice floating windows tools, and I'm going to do a tutorial on creating a real simple arpeggiator in Max for Live. A couple of people over on the Ableton forums had asked about this, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Okay, so here we go. I have a track. This is I'm running the SynthMaster VST plugin here, one of my favorite, or audio unit, but one of my favorite soft synths outside of all the stuff that's built in Ableton. And I've got a basic sound on there. And I'm going to turn off my arpeggiator here. Here's the sound. Right, kind of a horn, brassy kind of thing. And I want to create a arpeggiator. So what an arpeggiator is, for those who don't know, basically it's going to play, I'm going to play some notes in, and it's going to play them automatically. So if I play a chord in, it's going to play each note in that chord, that kind of thing. Here's me playing an arpeggio. Right, simple arpeggio. All right, but we want to do it automatically. So here's what we wanted to do eventually. Watch this, ready? No, we wanted to do something more interesting than that. And why didn't it start? Well, it's because it's a time-based thing, and I have to turn on the transport. Much better. Okay, let's open it up. Take a look inside. Real simple. Okay, you see it's got one knob on it, one dial on it here, and that dial, if I lock this, I'm going to play again. I'll hold it down. Ready? So what's happening is basically it's changing the rate that it plays at according to this dial here. So I can go from a 16th note to an 8th note to a quarter note to a half note to a whole note. The range of that, you'll set yourself. So we'll see. So first, I opened up my Max for Live window here by clicking the edit button down here. Opens that up. Now I'm going to say unlock. Now it's in edit mode, and you can see I can move things around. I've got a little title, arpeggiator, which is just a comment. I hit C, that gives me a comment. I can put whatever I want there. Hey, this is a comment. And it's just text, and if I want to change things about that, I have my inspector, and I'm going to bring that over. I'll sit it over here. And normally I'd click on something here and say inspector. Okay, it happens to be there. So I can do some things, change the font, make it bigger. Just a little bit like that. Okay. And for now, I don't really care about that. Okay, so there was a comment, and this is a dial. And if I wanted to add a dial, I'd say N, because I like shortcuts. I'd say live dial. And I have some options, tiny dials. I'm using a panel dial here. Okay, so it starts off with its name, and it's got some enumerated values, things like that. And we'll look inside this one specifically. All right, so what's going on? I'm going to switch into patching mode. All right, so you can see inside the patch here, and you can see the guts of really what's going on. All right, yeah, it's got a little bit of stuff in here. First off, most Max for Live MIDI effects, this is a MIDI effect because it only processes MIDI in and out. And normally, if you look at a default Max for Live patch, you would see that it just connects MIDI in to MIDI out. Let's take a look at that real quick. So go to Max for Live, Max MIDI Effect. I'll throw a Max MIDI Effect in here, in between those two guys. MIDI in to MIDI out. Real simple thing, okay? But we want to do something more exciting than that. Where'd it go? Come on. Window, simple ARP. Here it is. Okay. So if I have MIDI in to MIDI out on here, you can hear it's playing the notes that I'm playing. That's because it's taking any MIDI that comes in, sends it MIDI out. Now, in the case of my arpeggiator, for now, if I have MIDI in to MIDI out, you'll notice if as I play, it gets a little muddy. And we'll lock this, turn this down. Right, so it starts off muddy, and then goes into the arpeggio. And that's because it's echoing the MIDI in values to the MIDI out. And I don't want that to happen. So first thing I'll do is I'll unlock this. I'll take this, and I will break the connection between MIDI in and MIDI out, so notes don't get just passed through. Now what I'm doing is I'm sending it through this MIDI select option here, this object here. Now what MIDI select does is basically it allows you to set or select some of the MIDI information to do something special with. So in this case, I'm using MIDI select at note all. And what that means is I want to select all of the note information, and anything else, anything that's not note information, winds up being unselected, and that comes out of the last thing here. You'll see along the way, we've got MIDI channel, we've got pitch bend, aftertouch, program change, control changes, poly key pressure, and note on and off. So in this case, you'll see if again, I'll put a message here, and I'll say, okay, here's my note information. I'll press something. Okay, so my note information is coming out here, and it's not being passed, which is why I don't get that muddy sound anymore. Okay, so you're saying, all right, well, where's it going? It's MIDI in, gets selected, MIDI out, so all the normal stuff, pitch bend, all that kind of stuff just gets right out. You don't have to worry about it. But the notes are obviously going somewhere. Okay. I also have a note in, and it's a common misconception that, excuse me, that you have to connect the MIDI in to note in, and that's not true. Note in is automatically any notes that get played, they come into this MIDI, excuse me, note in object. All right. So note in will separate out your MIDI value. It'll separate into pitch, velocity, and MIDI channel. Now, in the case of live, we're not really caring about MIDI channel, so we have pitch and we have velocity. Okay, so pitch is going to go from 0 to 127. Velocity is going to go from 0 to 127. Velocity is how hard you hit the note, and the note number is obviously the note number. Excuse me. All right, so now we have notes coming in. And then we have this borax thing. Now, borax, it sounds weird and scary. I don't know where they came up with the name. Borax was some kind of soap or something like that once upon a time. I don't know. But anyway, this clever guys over at Cycling 74, or maybe it was Miller Puckett himself with PD. I don't know. I forget who came up with borax. But anyway, what borax does, it is basically a way to sort of manage a note on and note off information. Okay, here's the help for it. Anytime you can always get help by just you can right click and get open borax help, whatever. So what this does is it acquires and outputs comprehensive information regarding note on and note off events. Okay, so it's basically keeping track, right? You don't have to look for MIDI note on with velocity not equal to 0, as opposed to note on with velocity 0, which is MIDI note off. And so it keeps track of all that, right? And it does some neat things here. You wind up with an event number. So we're going to wind up with the one we're really interested in is this voice allocation number. Okay, this is an index to refer to a note when storing the other information from borax. So a note on and a note off basically wind up with the same voice allocation number. So this lets us keep track of what's going on. It also tells us the number of notes currently held down, which is very useful for an arpeggiator. So you hold down 4 notes, that magically 4 comes out. And then at any instantaneous moment, you get the pitch of the incoming note that get played, the velocity played, so similar to MIDI information. So those are the ones we're going to take advantage of right now. So I'll close my borax again. So you'll see in here, I don't care about the number of notes since the last reset. I'm going to look at the voice allocation number. So the number of notes that have been played and held. Okay, here's the number of notes that are currently active. Oh, sorry, this is the allocation number. This is the number of notes currently held, right? So that'll be somewhere between 0 and whatever. The pitch and the velocity. All right. So what I'm now going to do is I take this out, and there's going to be one of two things that happen. I either want to record the note that got played. I'm going to put it in a table. I'm going to put it in a collection here. You see this call down here? A call is a collection. It's been a little bit of a kind of a database in here. And if I double click on that, right now you won't see there's anything, and it's just an empty database. If I hold down a note, or 2 notes, and I need 3 hands here. Hold down 2 notes and double click on that, you'll see I have in my database with my voice allocation numbers 1 and 2. The first note played, the second note played, and you'll see it was pitch 36 with a velocity 127, and pitch 37 with a velocity 127. Now I'm just using my launch pad, so it's a fixed velocity. I don't have velocity sensitivity, so that's what happens. Okay, so how do those things get into the collection? Okay, well, let's follow this over here. So borax comes through. We use a pack object to turn, basically, we take the voice allocation number, we take the pitch over here. Then we take the velocity, we pack them all together. This T just lets me send the velocity to 2 places. So we pack them all together into an event, and normally it's going to come down through here and get sent through one of these 2 paths. Okay, we have 2 paths because in the database, in this collection, we don't want to add something to it if the velocity is non-zero, meaning it's a note on, or we remove it from the database if it is velocity 0. Okay, so let's look at this kind of a little more carefully. So the remove event, that's going to let me remove an event from the database, and otherwise it adds it. Okay, so you'll see as I play notes, this gate here, right? You want to put a gate in. You hit in G gate for a graphic gate. It creates one of these objects for you. And what happens? Let's see what I can do. I'll put a bang, or no, I'll put a toggle here, and I will click that on there for a second. And so, as I send it either a 1 or a 0, it's going to change. If it's 0, it goes out this outlet. If it's 1, it goes out this outlet. So it lets me do a little, bit of simple routing. All right, so that's the G gate here, graphical gate, also known as a G switch 2. So I've got 2 of those in here, one over here, one over here. Okay, let's look at this one for now. All right, so in the normal case, here's velocity. I make my decisions based on velocity. This equal to 0. So if it's equal to 0, it sends it down this path, which is the remove path. If it's not 0, it sends it down this path, which basically adds it to the database. You got that? All right, so we wind up with a message that says allocation number, pitch, and velocity. It either removes it from the database, because it's going to say remove allocation number and just remove that record, or it's just going to add it in there. All right, so that's what happens in this side of it here. I'm basically adding or subtracting, adding or removing the notes from the database. All right, so we're keeping track of notes. Okay, but how do they get played? All right, that's where this other half over here comes in. All right, so first off, what's going on here? Let's see where the borax attaches. Okay, so the borax attaches over here where it says, okay, the number of notes that are currently active. That means you're holding down some notes. So if there are notes that are held, it comes over to here and makes a decision. It says, okay, if that is greater than 0, you want to do something, right? If you're holding down 1 or more notes. So there's going to be some decision made over here. You'll see normally there's this thing that's going off to nowhere, because right now I'm not holding any notes. The moment I hold a note, it connects this to here, okay? This input to that output, right? I hold a couple of notes, it's there, and then the moment I let go of everything, it switches back over again. All right, so what's going on over here? The main thing is this metro. A metro is basically a fixed, a kind of a tick. It bangs at a certain rate, okay? Now, metro at active 1 means just basically turn the metronome on. Normally, you have to use like a toggle or something to like turn it on or turn it off. But if you say metro at active 1, that means, okay, turn the metronome so it's active all the time. So if I were to say I put a B here, you'll see the moment I attach it, it starts banging right away. So it's active right now. As long as the live transport is going, it's going to be banging away here. Okay, I'll get rid of that. So it's hitting a bang, and it bangs this message called next. Okay, to get a message, you type M and you say next, whatever. So it bangs this next, which you'll see also is referencing. Here's your collection. Okay, now collection, you can refer to it in multiple places. You refer to it by name. Okay, so I could say next, and it's going to bang this, and it's going to be the next record in the database. Okay, so this is going to just cycle through all the way around and around and around, because to say just the next one gets to the end, loops back to the beginning, bangs it again. Okay, the fact that there are 2 of them is a little bit confusing, but they actually refer to the same database. They have the same name. They're both named notes. Okay, so that means there's one database in the Max database collection of database there. Okay, what's the 1 for? The 1 just means basically don't try to load that database from disk. It doesn't exist, and you don't want it to save it. You don't want it on your hard drive. You don't care about it. You're just gonna, okay, so it's RAM based only. Okay, so it comes. Somehow it gets a bang from the metronome up here. Bang comes through. It says, okay, give me the next one, and I'm gonna do this. Okay, a little more demonstration. Look at that right there. All right, I'm going to play a note. Okay. See it changing there? That's getting the next one, getting the next one, getting the next one. and then it just sends that through unpack. Unpack then takes the information there, and it is going to take the first element of the list and the second element of the list, which basically are going to be the pitch and the velocity. Okay, so it pulls back out of the database. The first number in the database, remember, was the allocation number. It strips that off, doesn't care about that. So by calling the next one, it just basically gives you the data back, which is the pitch and the velocity. Then you have this make note object, and that makes a MIDI note. Make note is kind of special because make note allows you to set a duration. So make note takes care of both note on and note off, which is kind of cool, especially with an arpeggiator like that. So here's your make note help if you want to get that. Okay, hide that over there. Basically what's happening is you have the pitch in, you have the velocity out, and you have the duration. Okay, so you send it a duration. It says, okay, play the note right now, but after this duration, send a note off. So that's really handy to have, especially in a case of an arpeggiator. So because you want to automatically, you don't want to keep track of all those note offs, just automatically say, okay, a quarter note later or whatever. And our arpeggiator is real simple here. It basically assumes that notes are going to be played for the full duration until basically the next note happens. So it's real simple. So every quarter note turns a note on, then turns it off when the next one gets played. After you make the note, it then also has to say, okay, make note has a pitch output and a velocity output, and that goes to note out, which is ultimately going to be our MIDI. Your MIDI comes back out again. All right, simple so far, right? Okay, so how is it getting the timing? You know, how's it playing faster, quarter notes, 16th notes, and so on? All right, so the metronome, you can, of course, set the rate for the metronome. All right, so I'm doing something real simple here. I'm using a live menu. You see in the inspector here, this is a live menu. And if I drop down, if I were to drop down the menu, you would see I have a couple of different values. One, a whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note. Now, why am I not showing that in my interface? You'll see it disappears. Why is it not there? I don't know. I just decided to make it hide because I like dials better than I like menus. I don't know, whatever. Why do I have a dial and a menu? Well, that's an important point. Okay, a menu, what's going to happen in the menu, I'm going to throw a little thing here again. I love using little message boxes so you can see what's going on. I'm going to select a value from there, eighth note. You get 8N back, 4N, 2N. That's what comes out of here. And that's the value that the metronome likes to see because I want it to be quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, those kind of things. So what's going to happen is it's going to come out here. This $1 in my message, that's going to be substituted. It's going to substitute that value in. So again, let's see. Take this, see the output there. See what that's doing. Eighth note. See, it's going to say interval 8N. This actually has a comma in between, so it's sending two messages out. It sends them real quick. It's going to say quantize 8N, and the next one is going to be interval 8N. We only see the last one because we can't see it change that quickly, but trust me, it's in quantize 8N and then interval 8N. All right, so that's how it sets that. Now, again, going back to the question, why do I have a menu and a dial? Well, a dial, even though it has an enumeration here, you see these dial values here, you'll see I change the dial and it goes 16N, 8N, 4N, 2N, 1N. It still only sends out a set of numbers. It sends out 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't send out the actual enumeration. So I'm sending that enumeration to here, which causes basically, again, I'll turn that off. I'm going to turn that. You'll see it's saying, okay, choose that value from the menu. And, then that causes it to turn that off. Menu, You'll see out of here, as I turn my menu, it's going to choose the right thing. All right, so let's go through all that again real quick, and then we'll just play some notes. Okay, so we set a value, and you can, say you wanted to change this, say you want to get real crazy. I want to have somewhere along here, I want to have eighth note triplets, 8 and T. Throw those in there. Now, I'm going to make sure to go in here and have also 8 and T in there. If I don't have the same thing in both, it's going to get real crazy. And all right, so now I'll close that. You'll see now 8 and T. So now I got eighth note triplets in there as well. And you can like, you know, tweak this to your heart's content. Open that again. So we could, you know, have it go all the way down to 128th notes and triplets and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to keep it simple for demonstration here. All right, so you set that value. It quantizes the clock to that value, and it also sets that as the interval. So what does that mean? It means that the metronome bangs at that interval, but it also quantizes it with regards to how, you know, it starts since the beginning. So you don't wind up with like things happening off the beat, right? It's going to quantize it, and it's going to set that to be the interval. Comes down here. That's how it sets up the metronome. The metronome is banging away, and as soon as the borax opens the gate, the metronome's bangs come through here. It causes the database, it gets next messages from here, which then cycles through all of the values in the database, turns that into velocity, grabs the velocity and the pitch from there, makes a note of it, sends it out. All right, so that's the basic arpeggiator. You can do all kinds of things, like if you wanted to, you know, change the note order, play up and down, have different patterns. That's all going to be how you manipulate the database. You know, you can do things like sort it, so you can sort it from low to high. You can also do things like sort based on the different fields in there. You can get all kinds of craziness, but that would be a much longer tutorial, and we've already been long enough. So until next time, this is Eric, aka LearnMax, aka Eraser Mice. Check out my other tutorials, subscribe to my channel, and if you really like things and want to get some floating live menus, go to www.erasermice.com. You'll see lots of links all over the place, and it will let you have multiple windows in Ableton 8 and 9 as long as you have Max for Live. And there's also some really advanced code in there if you want to check them out. So until next time, take it easy. Bye.